Hi guys, well, I'm going to talk to you today about classroom management. Well, the reading offers two different definitions about what classroom management should be. One is a very general term, or general definition, which is to keep people from different environments directed to one single goal. And the other one, I think it's a bit more for our context, which is actions and strategies that teachers use to maintain order and systems for classroom groups. And while classroom management is developed into 3 points. One is how to arrange the classroom. The other is how we present our teaching behaviors and how we expect our students to demonstrate what they have learned. Well, they also emphasize how misbehavior is not just necessarily behaving badly, but it's also when a person's behavior influences or interrupts the learning of another. And I thought that was quite interesting. I hadn't heard misbehavior being that way. And it takes me back to my students and maybe some that are always working and always turning everything on time, finishing quickly. But if their behavior interrupts the learning of others, then it's misbehavior as well. Off task, well, basically not doing what you're supposed to do. And then discipline. And here discipline, it's quite interesting how they develop this concept, because it's not necessarily in a negative aspect, but it's a way for teachers to engage students in what they're doing, so there is no time to be undisciplined, which leads me to comprehensive classroom management. And basically what I understood from this concept was, if you maintain students engaged in activities or a follow through in activities and continuous movement, then there is no time for misbehavior, which makes me actually question this definition, because, well, it's such an emphasis on for teachers to do all the work, and a lot of responsibility is placed on teachers to have students act the way that they should act by having them engaged in learning activities. So some of you might say, well, yes, it's possible, but others may think, why is it always such a task for teachers to make sure students are not misbehaving? And well, there are many factors that influence how teachers manage their classroom: physical environment, seating arrangement, whiteboard use, and equipment. And it takes me back to our classroom and how these factors influence. And teacher roles and styles. They expect us to be a guide, a knower, but they also expect us to have different teaching styles that accommodate our learners. And why? Because all of these affect the language, the classroom management that we have in our classrooms. If they see that a teacher is a knower, then they can feel that they're in good hands, that they know that the teacher will instruct them the right way. And for teaching styles, well, you have to make sure that you're approachable to students, but so that they feel comfortable enough, but not too comfortable. And it takes us back to, where do we draw that line, and how do we have to be everything at once? And these factors influence classroom management, because the way that we develop certain things will impact behavior and discipline in our students. And then, of course, well, unplanned teaching. Sometimes things will not go as we want them to because of assemblies or things that come up in class. And this can influence the way that your classroom is carried out. The voice, body language, all of these aspects come into play as well. Having large classes, having a lot of people, as we have seen in our own classrooms and as in our language classrooms as well, impact how the teacher manages the group. And also, creating a positive atmosphere is quite important. Well, thank you for letting me use our pictures. I use these examples because they remind me of what a positive atmosphere should be, and I think that in our group we have achieved that, and it helps our classroom be a bit more manageable. Also, our teachers manage to show report, and we have to show report to our students. By establishing report, we create that link that helps us manage our classrooms as well, because students feel like they're in trust, or they think that, well, they believe that they're in an environment that is positive and developed for them. The balance of praise and criticism is another important factor. And large classrooms, but also the control, the attention, the evaluation of students during the class is also something that can help teachers manage their classroom well. And well, learning effectiveness and discipline problems are other factors. If your teaching is not being effective, maybe students will not care about the class. They'll probably discipline problems will arise. And this is all leading to how well you can manage your classroom. And basically, it goes down to certain points that I summed it up to. Well, classroom management is crucial. It's important, and sometimes it's not developed as it should. Sometimes we don't have a subject in our BA that develops this specific aspect. Well, we have seen that there are several factors that trigger misconduct or can lead to misconduct, but it's not insurmountable. So it's achievable. That's what the reading mentions. But I think it's important to consider our context and our culture to see how situations can differ. And well, identifying the needs of our students and tailoring our instruction to them. Sometimes it can be a daunting task to try to fit everyone's needs because it's a lot of responsibility. But when it's done well, it's easier for classroom management to ensue. And finally, in the green, one of the most impacting parts that I read is, well, that classroom management is as important as the curriculum. And well, you might be a great English teacher, have the best activities, but if you can't manage your classroom well, then it could lead to many, well, as we saw, different factors that can influence how our students learn. The study that we read as well were basically student teachers who were interviewed through questionnaires and interviews, and there was persistence and disruptive behavior. There were many examples from teachers that, well, of behavior that wasn't appropriate for the classroom, and the strategies that they tried to use to handle certain behaviors. And what was found is that there's a need for classroom management to be assessed. This is a topic that maybe wasn't developed well throughout their pre-service teaching, throughout their BA programs, and it's something that is quite important and will influence your classroom. Punitive strategies hinder classroom management. Well, we saw examples of how there's certain punishments that are still allowed, which was quite shocking. I mean, now in our context, we can't even look at a child in the wrong way or we'd be in trouble. And it boils down to, well, tolerance and effective feedback. And by creating a positive student-teacher relationship makes the overall difference. If that is able to be achieved, then you're able to manage your classroom well. But there's this lack of development or improvement in certain teachers in this aspect. Well, and that's all. These are my references. Thank you.